Rap singer Eazy-E has lost his battle with AIDS just 10 days after revealing that he had the disease.
Eazy-E, the legendary godfather of gangsta rap, was a trailblazer in hip-hop, forever changing the genre with his raw storytelling, controversial lyrics, and fearless attitude. As the founder of N.W.A. and Ruthless Records, he played a pivotal role in shaping West Coast rap and bringing the harsh realities of street life to mainstream audiences. However, behind his success and fame lay a story filled with betrayal, feuds, and an untimely demise that shocked the music world. Are you ready to listen to his story? Let's get started. Among Eazy-E's tragic events, his death was one of the most gruesome. On February 24, 1995, Eazy-E was admitted to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles after experiencing a severe and persistent cough. Initially, the nature of his illness was unclear, but medical evaluations soon confirmed that he had contracted HIV/AIDS. This revelation was a shock not only to Eazy-E but also to his friends, family, and fans. At the time, HIV/AIDS was still heavily stigmatized, particularly within the hip-hop community, and Eazy-E's diagnosis was met with widespread disbelief and concern. On March 16, 1995, Eazy-E made a public statement announcing his condition. In his message, he revealed his diagnosis and acknowledged the seriousness of the disease, urging others to be cautious and take their health seriously. His statement was both a personal revelation and a cautionary message to his fans, as he took the opportunity to stress the importance of safe practices and awareness regarding HIV/AIDS. It was widely believed that Eazy-E had contracted the virus through unprotected sexual contact, though he did not specify details about when or how he became infected. As his health rapidly declined, Eazy-E took steps to address unfinished business and make amends with those he had feuded with, including Ice Cube. Their reconciliation was significant, as the two had been estranged due to long-standing tensions following Ice Cube's departure from N.W.A. a year earlier. With his condition worsening, Eazy-E prepared a final message to his fans during the week of March 20th, expressing his gratitude and reflecting on his career. On March 26, 1995, just 1 month after his initial diagnosis, Eazy-E succumbed to complications from HIV/AIDS at the age of 30. At the time, many news outlets mistakenly reported that he was 31 years old due to the earlier falsification of his birth year. His sudden death sent shockwaves through the music industry, as he had remained a prominent figure in hip-hop, even amid declining health. A funeral service for Eazy-E was held on April 7, 1995, at Rose Hills Memorial Park in Whittier, California. The event drew over 3,000 mourners, including close friends, family members, and industry figures such as Jerry Heller and DJ Yella. His impact on the rap world was evident in the sheer number of attendees who came to pay their respects. Eazy-E was laid to rest in a gold casket, a testament to his larger-than-life persona. True to his signature style, he was dressed in a flannel shirt, jeans, and his iconic Compton hat, a look that had become synonymous with his identity as one of gangsta rap's most influential pioneers. Besides his death, his private life is also an aspect that many people are interested in. Eazy-E became a father in 1984 when his son, Eric Darnell Wright, was born. Eric Jr., who would later adopt the stage name Lil Eazy-E, followed in his father's footsteps by pursuing a career in hip-hop. Lil Eazy-E has often spoken about his father's impact on the genre and has worked to preserve Eazy-E's legacy, frequently paying tribute to him in his music and public appearances. In addition to his son, Eazy-E had a daughter named Erin, who later changed her name to Ebe. Unlike her brother, Ebe has been more focused on storytelling and advocacy regarding her father's legacy rather than music. She has been vocal about her suspicions surrounding his untimely death, questioning the circumstances and raising concerns about whether Eazy-E was deliberately infected with HIV/AIDS. In October 2016, more than 2 decades after her father's passing, N.W.A launched a crowdfunding campaign to finance a documentary titled Ruthless Scandal: No More Lies. The film was intended to investigate the details of Eazy-E's death and uncover any hidden truths. N.W.A believed there were unanswered questions and inconsistencies in the official reports of her father's illness and wanted to shed light on any potential foul play. Despite her efforts, the campaign failed to reach its financial goal and ended unsuccessfully in December 2016. Beyond his family life and contributions to music, Eazy-E also had an unexpected brush with politics. In March 1991, he made headlines when he accepted an invitation to a luncheon benefiting the Republican Senatorial Inner Circle, an elite political fundraising group. The event was hosted by then U.S. President George H.W. Bush, and Eazy-E's attendance sparked widespread surprise and confusion. Given that he was known for his raw and often anti-establishment lyrics, his presence at a high-profile Republican event seemed out of character. A spokesperson for Eazy-E later clarified that his attendance was not necessarily an endorsement of Bush's broader policies, but was instead rooted in his support for the president's handling of the Gulf War. Some speculated that his involvement in the event was also a strategic move, an opportunity to connect with influential figures who could potentially benefit his business ventures, including Ruthless Records. In 1993, Eazy-E became a surprising and somewhat controversial figure in the aftermath of one of the most infamous police brutality cases in American history, the beating of Rodney King. The brutal assault on King by 4 Los Angeles police officers in 1991, which was captured on video and broadcast nationwide, led to widespread outrage and the 1992 Los Angeles riots after the officers were acquitted in their initial state trial. The federal government later pursued civil rights charges against the officers, and it was during this trial that Eazy-E became a frequent courtroom attendee, regularly following the proceedings. Eazy-E's involvement in the case was particularly notable because he was often seen standing alongside Theodore J. Briseno, one of the 4 officers on trial. Briseno was a controversial figure in the case, as he was the only officer who did not actively participate in beating King, but also did not stop the assault from occurring. The 2 men had reportedly met through their shared legal representation, which facilitated an unlikely acquaintance between the N.W.A. rapper and the former LAPD officer. Eazy-E publicly voiced his stance on the case, stating that while 3 of the officers were undoubtedly guilty of excessive force, Briseno was different. He argued that Briseno, who was of Mexican-American descent, had actually attempted to prevent the other officers from continuing the beating. In an interview, Eazy-E said, "The difference is that most people look at the video and say 4 white officers were responsible for the beating of this helpless, innocent black man. I say wrong. 3 white officers were responsible for beating Rodney King. The other officer, Theodore J. Briseno, happens to be Mexican-American, and he tried to stop them." This statement sparked an immediate backlash, particularly within the hip-hop community, where distrust of law enforcement was deeply ingrained. Many saw Eazy-E's willingness to defend Briseno as a betrayal of the anti-police stance that had defined much of his music and public persona. As a founding member of N.W.A., Eazy-E had been instrumental in popularizing gangsta rap and had helped craft one of the genre's most incendiary tracks, Fuck the Police, which condemned police brutality and racial profiling. His unexpected stance on the case led to accusations that he was undermining the broader struggle against police violence. One of the most vocal critics of Eazy-E's position was Willie D. of the Ghetto Boys, who openly called him a sellout. The accusation implied that Eazy-E had abandoned the principles that N.W.A. had built its legacy on. To many in the hip-hop community, supporting any police officer, regardless of their role in the King beating, was seen as siding with the system that oppressed black communities. One of the most significant relationships in his later years was with Tamika Woods, whom he met in 1991 at a Los Angeles nightclub. Their relationship developed over the next few years, and as Eazy-E's health began to decline in early 1995 due to complications from HIV/AIDS, he made the decision to marry her. The couple wed on March 14, 1995, just 12 days before his tragic passing. Despite their short-lived marriage, Eazy-E and Woods had built a family together. They had 2 children, a son named Dominic and a daughter, Deja, who was born 6 months after Eazy-E's death. At the time of his passing, Woods was already pregnant, making the loss even more profound for her and their growing family. After Eazy-E's death on March 26, 1995, control of Ruthless Records, the pioneering label he had founded in 1987, was transferred to Tamika Woods Wright. Managing Ruthless was no small task, as the label had been home to some of the most influential acts in hip-hop, including N.W.A, Bone Thugs-n-Harmony, and Above the Law. However, in the years following Eazy-E's passing, the label struggled to maintain its dominance in the industry. While Woods made efforts to continue her late husband's vision, shifting industry trends and legal battles made it difficult for Ruthless to remain at the forefront of hip-hop. Beyond his marriage to Woods, Eazy-E was known for having a large family. According to his former business partner and Ruthless Records co-founder, Jerry Heller, Eazy-E fathered a total of 11 children, with 8 different women. His reputation as a ladies' man was well documented, and his personal life often mirrored the themes of excess and indulgence found in his music. Despite the complicated nature of his relationships, those who knew him described him as a devoted father who cared deeply for his children. Many of his children, including Lil Eazy-E, Eric Darnell Wright, have continued to honor his legacy, whether through music or other public efforts to preserve his influence. Now let's take a look back at Eazy-E's early years to see what happened to him. Eric Lynn Wright grew up in Compton, California, a city that had long been associated with high crime rates, gang activity, and economic struggle. His parents, Richard and Kathy Wright, were hard-working individuals who sought to provide for their family despite the challenging environment. Richard worked as a postal worker, while Kathy was a grade school administrator, ensuring that young Eric was raised with a sense of structure and discipline at home. Despite his mother's role in education, Eazy-E struggled with traditional schooling and ultimately dropped out in the 10th grade. He later earned a general equivalency diploma GED, but by that time, his focus had already shifted toward street life. Compton in the late 1970s and early 1980s was an area deeply affected by gang violence, the crack cocaine epidemic, and systemic socio-economic struggles. Many young men turned to the drug trade as a means of survival, and Eazy-E was no exception. Eazy-E began supporting himself primarily by selling drugs, a path that provided financial security but came with significant risks. He reportedly introduced his cousin to the drug trade as well, further embedding himself in the dangerous lifestyle that defined many neighborhoods in South Los Angeles at the time. His involvement in drug dealing would later become a key part of his public image, fueling both the mythology surrounding him and the criticism that followed. However, his longtime friend and manager, Jerry Heller, offered a slightly different perspective on Eazy-E's early life. Heller, who later co-founded Ruthless Records with Eazy-E, recalled seeing him sell marijuana, but never cocaine, which was the drug most closely associated with the devastating crack epidemic of the 1980s. Heller claimed that Eazy-E's reputation as a dope dealer was part of his self-forged armor, a persona he carefully constructed to command respect and avoid becoming a target in the rough streets of Compton. Eazy-E was also frequently labeled as a thug, another term that carried weight in the streets. As Heller explained, the hood where he grew up was a dangerous place. He was a small guy. Thug was a role that was widely understood on the street. It gave you a certain level of protection in the sense that people hesitated to fuck with you. Likewise, dope dealer was a role that accorded you certain privileges and respect. Standing at just 5 feet 3 inches tall, Eazy-E understood that in a place like Compton, reputation could mean the difference between survival and becoming a victim. Whether through his involvement in illicit activities or the image he cultivated, he managed to navigate the treacherous streets with a level of resilience that would later define his career in hip-hop. Despite his early involvement in crime, Eazy-E ultimately saw music as a way out. Using money he had accumulated, whether from his street dealings or other ventures, he invested in launching Ruthless Records, setting the foundation for what would become one of the most influential labels in hip-hop history. His transition from the streets to the studio was not only a financial move, but also a reflection of his ability to adapt and recognize opportunity in an industry that was just beginning to embrace the raw, unfiltered narratives of gangsta rap. By 1986, at just 22 years old, Eazy-E Wright had allegedly accumulated as much as $250,000 from drug dealing. Growing up in Compton, California, where opportunities for young black men were scarce, many turned to street hustling as a means of financial survival. Eazy-E was no exception. However, despite the money he made, the dangers of the lifestyle became all too real when his cousin was shot and killed. The tragic incident forced Eazy-E to reconsider his path, and he began searching for an alternative way to build a future, one that didn't involve the constant threat of violence and incarceration. At the same time, the Los Angeles hip-hop scene was rapidly gaining momentum. The genre was transitioning from its early East Coast dominance to a new, grittier sound that reflected the struggles of life on the West Coast. Eazy-E saw an opportunity in this growing movement and decided that music, rather than the drug trade, would be his way forward. Determined to break into the industry, Eazy-E began recording songs in the mid-1880s in the garage of his parents' home. Without formal musical training or industry connections, he relied on his entrepreneurial instincts and his ability to recognize talent. It was during this period that he laid the groundwork for what would become Ruthless Records, one of the most influential independent labels in hip-hop history. While Eazy-E had the vision, he needed guidance to navigate the music business. He reached out to Jerry Heller, an industry veteran who had worked with acts such as Elton John, Pink Floyd, and Marvin Gaye. Eazy-E saw in Heller someone who could help him turn Ruthless Records from an idea into a powerhouse label. Initially, Eazy-E proposed a 50-50 partnership. But Heller, recognizing Eazy-E as the true owner and driving force behind the company, suggested a different arrangement. Under their final agreement, Eazy-E retained 80% of Ruthless Records' income, while Heller took 20%. Heller later recalled their discussion. "Every dollar that comes into Ruthless, I take 20 cents. That's the industry standard for a manager of my caliber. I take 20, you take 80%. I am responsible for my expenses, and you're responsible for yours. You own the company. I work for you." This deal was significant because it ensured that Eazy-E remained in control of his own company, an uncommon practice in an industry notorious for exploiting artists, particularly young black musicians. Eazy-E not only maintained majority ownership, but also had the final say in business decisions, making Ruthless Records one of the first black-owned hip-hop labels to achieve mainstream success. Eazy-E understood that building a successful label required serious investment. Unlike many artists who struggled to fund their careers, he had the advantage of using his street-earned capital to jumpstart Ruthless Records. He reportedly put up the first $250,000 to get the company off the ground. Heller, seeing the potential of Eazy-E's vision, also invested heavily, eventually contributing as much as $1 million into the label's development. This initial investment allowed Ruthless to finance production, secure studio time and press records, and promote artists without relying on major label backing. The label's independence gave Eazy-E and Heller the freedom to sign and develop talent on their own terms. With the financial foundation in place, Ruthless Records quickly began making waves. Eazy-E recruited local Compton talent, including Dr. Dre and Ice Cube, who had been making names for themselves in the underground scene. Together, they would form N.W.A, a group that would redefine hip-hop with their raw and unfiltered portrayal of street life. Ruthless Records soon became a force in the industry, releasing groundbreaking music that resonated with a generation. The label's first major success came with N.W.A's 1988 album, Straight Outta Compton, which propelled gangsta rap into the mainstream. Despite controversy and pushback from law enforcement and politicians, the album went platinum and established Ruthless as a dominant player in hip-hop. Beyond N.W.A, Ruthless Records expanded its roster, signing acts like Bone Thugs and Harmony, Above the Law, J.J. Fad, and the D.O.C., further solidifying its influence. Eazy-E's ability to spot talent and his willingness to take risks ensured that Ruthless remained at the forefront of West Coast rap. What set Eazy-E apart from many of his peers was his business acumen. He wasn't just a rapper, he was an entrepreneur who understood the importance of ownership and independence. Unlike many artists who signed unfavorable contracts with major labels, Eazy-E maintained control over his career and his company, securing his legacy as one of hip-hop's most influential figures. N.W.A, often referred to as the world's most dangerous group, emerged in the late 1980s as a defining force in hip-hop, shaping the genre with their raw, unfiltered storytelling and unapologetic lyrics. The original lineup consisted of Arabian Prince, Dr. Dre, Eazy-E, and Ice Cube. Later, DJ Yella and MC Ren joined, solidifying the group's roster. Unlike many rap collectives of the time, N.W.A brought a level of realism and social commentary that had rarely been heard in mainstream music. Their music spoke directly to the struggles of young black men in America, particularly those living in south-central Los Angeles, an area plagued by gang violence, police brutality, and economic hardship. Before fully breaking into the mainstream, N.W.A released a compilation album, N.W.A and the Posse, on November 6, 1987. This project was a collection of previously released singles distributed by Macola Records, a company responsible for pushing early West Coast rap music. The album included tracks from N.W.A as well as contributions from affiliated acts like the Fila Fresh Crew, a rap group originally based in Dallas, Texas. Despite being more of a mixtape-style release than a fully conceptualized album, N.W.A and the Posse went on to achieve gold certification in the United States, proving there was a growing demand for the group's raw, street-centered sound. Eazy-E, the financial and creative backbone of N.W.A, simultaneously pursued a solo career while pushing the group forward. In 1988, he released his debut solo album, Eazy Does It, a 12-track project that became a cornerstone of gangsta rap. The album was primarily produced by Dr. Dre and DJ Yella, with lyrics written by Ice Cube, MC Ren, and the D.O.C. Its sound was unmistakably West Coast, featuring heavy bass lines, funky synths, and hard-hitting drum patterns, elements that would later define the G-Funk era. The album's lyrical content was provocative and rebellious, capturing the essence of street life in Compton. Songs like Boys in the Hood, We Want Easy, and Eazy Does It showcased Eazy-E's signature high-pitched delivery, a style that set him apart from other rappers of his time. Despite his relatively limited writing contributions, Eazy-E's charisma and persona carried the album. He embodied the role of the street-savvy hustler-turned-rap mogul, an image that resonated with audiences across the country. Commercially, Eazy Does It was a major success. It sold over 2.5 million copies in the United States and peaked at number 41 on the Billboard 200, an impressive feat for an independent rap album in the late 1980s. Critics recognized the album's influence as well, with Glenn Boyd of the Seattle Post-Intelligencer and MTV's John Wiederhorn crediting it for laying the groundwork for N.W.A.'s next and most controversial project, Straight Outta Compton. Straight Outta Compton, released in January 1989, was a revolutionary album that redefined hip-hop. While Eazy-E had been the main face of Easy Does It, N.W.A.'s debut project was more of a collective effort, showcasing the talents of Ice Cube, MC Ren, Dr. Dre, DJ Yella, and Eazy-E himself. Eazy-E contributed vocally on 7 tracks and co-wrote 4, but his presence was felt throughout the album. His only true solo moment was a remix of the track 8 Ball, a song that had originally appeared on N.W.A. and the Posse. What made Straight Outta Compton groundbreaking was its fearless approach to controversial topics. Tracks like Fuck the Police directly challenged law enforcement, bringing national attention to the realities of police brutality in black communities. Other songs like Gangsta Gangsta and the title track painted vivid pictures of life in Compton, filled with crime, survival, and defiance. The album's impact extended far beyond music. It sparked debates about freedom of speech, led to increased scrutiny from politicians and law enforcement, and ultimately set the stage for gangsta rap's dominance in the 1990s. Despite, or perhaps because of, its controversy, Straight Outta Compton became a massive success. Though it received little radio airplay due to its explicit content, the album still went triple platinum, proving that N.W.A. had struck a nerve with listeners who saw their reality reflected in the music. Eazy-E's role in N.W.A.'s rise to fame cannot be overstated. While he wasn't the group's strongest lyricist, his business acumen, distinctive voice, and larger-than-life persona made him the face of the movement. His solo success with Easy Does It only solidified his influence, ensuring that he remained one of the most important figures in West Coast rap. The beginning of N.W.A.'s dissolution can be traced back to the involvement of Jerry Heller, a veteran music industry executive who became the group's manager. While Heller played a significant role in the success of Ruthless Records and N.W.A., his presence ultimately sowed discord among the members. Dr. Dre, in particular, felt that Heller had used manipulative tactics to create tension within the group. Reflecting on the split, Dr. Dre later stated, "The split came when Jerry Heller got involved. He played the divide and conquer game. Instead of taking care of everybody, he picked one nigga to take care of, and that was Easy. And Easy was like, I'm taken care of, so fuck it." Heller's preferential treatment of Eazy-E caused resentment among the other members, particularly Dr. Dre and the D.O.C., who suspected that Easy and Heller were profiting at their expense. As Ruthless Records became increasingly successful, Dre and the D.O.C. began questioning how money was being distributed. Suspicious of possible financial mismanagement, they enlisted the help of Suge Knight to investigate. At the time, Suge Knight was an up-and-coming figure in the music industry, known for his aggressive business tactics and street connections. Dr. Dre and the D.O.C. approached Eazy-E and requested to be released from Ruthless Records, hoping to leave the label without conflict. However, Eazy-E refused, unwilling to part with 2 of the label's most valuable assets. The refusal led to an impasse, with Dre and the D.O.C. stuck in contractual agreements that prevented them from moving forward with their careers independently. This standoff escalated to a now infamous confrontation involving Suge Knight. According to reports, Suge met Eazy-E at the recording studio where Niggas for Life was being recorded, intending to force Eazy into releasing Dr. Dre and the D.O.C. from Ruthless. When intimidation alone didn't work, Suga allegedly resorted to extreme tactics. He told Eazy that he had kidnapped Jerry Heller and was holding him hostage in a van outside. While this claim turned out to be false, it demonstrated the lengths to which Suge was willing to go to gain control over Dr. Dre's career. Eazy-E, however, remained unmoved. He refused to be manipulated by Suge's threats and stood firm in his decision not to release Dre and the DOC from their contracts. That's when Suge Knight took the confrontation to a far more personal level, one that would ultimately force Eazy-E to concede. Suge handed Eazy a piece of paper containing his mother's home address and ominously stated, "I know where your mama stays." Realizing the potential danger his family was in, Eazy-E had little choice but to sign the documents that released Dr. Dre and the DOC from Ruthless Records. This decision marked the official end of N.W.A. as a group, with Dre departing to form Death Row Records alongside Suge Knight. The move proved to be a pivotal moment in hip-hop history, as Death Row went on to dominate the early 1990s with artists like Snoop Dogg and Tupac Shakur. Following the breakup of N.W.A., Eazy-E continued to release music through his label, Ruthless Records, maintaining his presence in the hip-hop scene, despite the ongoing tensions with former bandmate Dr. Dre. In December 1992, Eazy-E released the EP 5150, Home for the Sick, a project that further solidified his status as a solo artist. The EP featured a track written by Naughty by Nature and included multiple guest appearances. Among the standout tracks was Merry Motherfucking Xmas, which featured N.W.A, Buckwheat, and Atban Clan, which notably included a young Will.I.Am before he achieved mainstream success with the Black Eyed Peas. Another significant track, Neighborhood Sniper, featured Cocaine as a guest vocalist, contributing to the EP's signature West Coast gangsta rap sound. Despite Eazy-E's solo success, tensions with Dr. Dre escalated when Dre's debut solo album, The Chronic, was released in December 1992. One of the album's tracks, Fuck With Dre Day and Everybody's Celebratin', was a direct diss aimed at Eazy-E, mocking him and his business dealings with Jerry Heller. This open attack reignited the feud between the two former collaborators, leading Eazy-E to respond aggressively. Eazy-E fired back with his own diss-laden EP, It's On Dre 187 Killa, released on October 25, 1993. The project was a scathing response to The Chronic, with Eazy-E taking multiple shots at Dr. Dre and Death Row Records. The most notable diss track, Real Motherfucking G's, featured Gangsta Dresta and BG Knockout, both of whom joined in ridiculing Dre. The song's music video took things a step further by including images of Dr. Dre in lacy outfits and makeup from his early days as a member of the electro-hop group World-Class Wreckin' Crew. This visual mockery became one of the most infamous moments in their rivalry, painting Dre as inauthentic compared to Eazy-E's gangsta rap persona. The It's On, Dr. Dre 187, Killa EP also included tracks like It's On and Any Last Words, reinforcing Eazy-E's stance against Dre and Suge Knight. The project was highly successful, going double platinum and serving as one of Eazy-E's biggest solo releases. It also featured collaborations with key West Coast artists, including Cocaine, Cold 187 Rhythm D, and Dirty Red. Despite the intensity of their feud, Eazy-E continued working on new music and signing artists to Ruthless Records. However, his career was tragically cut short when he was diagnosed with HIV/AIDS in early 1995. He passed away on March 26th of that year, leaving behind unfinished work. 10 months after his death, on January 30th, 1996, his final album, Steer 8 Off the Streets of Motherfucking Compton, was released posthumously. The album served as a final testament to Eazy-E's influence in gangsta rap, featuring several guest vocalists, including BG Knockout, Gangsta Dresta, Silk E, Fine, Dirty Red, N.W.A, and Roger Troutman. Additionally, former N.W.A members MC Ren and DJ Yella contributed to the album, demonstrating that despite past conflicts, Eazy-E's legacy remained intertwined with his former group. What do you think about Eazy-E's life? Leave us your comments in the section below. We hope you have found this helpful video. Don't forget to leave a like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you like it. Thank you for watching this, and see you in the next videos. Goodbye.